So you outside having a blast, shooting a YouTube video, having fun, getting the nice, sick cinematic shots, and then on your way back home, you realize that you forgot to take your thumbnail. You forgot to shoot a photo for your thumbnail, which is one of the most essential things if you are making a video for YouTube. But then you now cannot go back and drive maybe an hour or two or even half an hour to the location you were before to have a shot for your thumbnail. Maybe the day is already dark and you don't have any more light. Maybe you don't have any more time. Maybe you are on a tight deadline. Whatever it is, you don't have a way to go back to the place you were to get that nice, crispy, beautiful cinematic thumbnail. So today's video, I want to share with you guys what I do when the scenarios happen, because believe me, they do happen. And just last week, I was out shooting my DJI Action 6 video, which is around here in the screen, so you can check that out. And I had a thumbnail prepared in my head and I completely forgot. I got into the zone, started shooting, thinking about the video, all the angles and this and that, and then I started taking photos with the DJI Action 6 and I completely forgot. I forgot about my thumbnail and I was a little pissed because I had planned a quite cool thumbnail idea and it didn't work. So I wouldn't be able to go back, and I didn't want to go back next day to the location and shoot a thumbnail just for the sake of shooting it. So I want to show you guys what I did and how you guys can also use the same technique to create your thumbnails if you forgot. I would always recommend for you to make your thumbnails with a photo which has more resolution. It's better to work with. But if you don't, if you are in a pinch, this is what I do and it works pretty well. And one more thing before we dive in, I want to say thank you so much for the 500 subscribers. Thank you so much. Like, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure to be here with you guys. I couldn't be doing this without you guys, and I know that it's still a long way to go, but I'm so grateful for every one of you guys that have subscribed, commented, liked the videos, participated in any shape or form. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you've been learning with the channel. So if you want to give me any suggestions, let me know in the comments, and I'm more than happy to go through them. Now, what you're gonna need is your footage. So you need obviously to have the footage from the day you're shooting and a editing software. I'll be using DaVince Resolve because it is the software that I use, but it probably work on Premiere Pro and any other software that you might be using. So here how it goes. Okay, now once you are inside of DaVince Resolve or your editing software, what I normally do is I create a new timeline. So let's create a new timeline, and that's the way I can then keep it organized with what I'm actually doing, and I don't really ruin the actual edit that I already did. And once you have your new timeline created, what I do is I select the clips that I will be using for the thumbnail. So in this case, as I already have the clip selected, I would just put them on this new timeline. And now that I have all the clips that I want in my timeline, I need to find what are the specific frames that I need for the thumbnail. So once I do that, I have now all my clips. And what I do here now is I go in and I'll scrub through the footage to find what is exactly the frame that I need for my thumbnail. And the reason is because as you are pretty much taking a screenshot of your video, depending on the frame, it might not be sharp because it might have some movement, and that will not be good for you to use as a thumbnail. So you need to scrub through the footage and see exactly what is the actual shot that has a better composition, that has an actual sharpness to it, that has no movement, that you can actually use for your thumbnail. Once I do that, I then go back to my clips and I do marks for each frame that I found. So for example, in this case here, I have this frame, then I have this frame here, then I have this one, and this one, and this one. So all of those are marked, meaning that I can just go back to that specifically frame to do what I need to do afterwards. Once I have selected the frames, I don't really cut them I don't do anything else. What I normally do now is I go into the color page, and in the color page I do my basic adjustments, and I only do the basic adjustments. I don't color correct. I don't do pretty much anything that is not highlights, exposure, contrast, white balance, but I don't mess up with the colors itself. I don't really try to edit my thumbnail here. What I do is just make sure that the photo that I will be using, or the frame that I will be using, is the best I can to use it later on into Lightroom. So once I did just the basic corrections here, I'll go back to my timeline, and once I'm back in my timeline, now I can go back to the frames and export them. So what I'm going to do here now is I'll go into the frame that I need. So let's see the first one here. I'll go into File, Export, and export current frame as still. Once you click there, you'll be asked to save your still. I have normally a folder which I use for thumbnails, so let me just see here. I got the right video and exports and thumbnail. I already have them all selected, and then you just click on export, and all your thumbnails, all your stills will be there. So once I've done that's pretty much what you need to do in your editing software. Once you've done that, what I do then is I will go into Lightroom, and here's a couple of things. I'm not going to dive in exactly on why I would be using the Lightroom instead of Lightroom Classic, but here is when Lightroom instead of Lightroom Classic plays a bigger role in my workflow. So for example, I do use the Lightroom, not a Classic, just a normal Lightroom, because it doesn't need a project. I can just go into the folder where I've saved all those thumbnails and edit them from there, and then from there I can export it, either already a ready file for YouTube, or I'll just send them into Photoshop and continue my work from there. If you guys want to know, let me know in the comments if you would like to know what are the difference between the two Lightrooms and why I would use one over the other. But mainly is because this one at this stage of the process is a lot faster, and it doesn't really need a lot of things done before I can just go in and edit, which is what I want. So once I am in Lightroom, what I do then is just work as a normal photo. Although this is a JPEG photo, it's not a RAW photo, you will have a little bit less data to work with, but it's a thumbnail, so we don't really need a lot of data to work with. We already did the corrections that we needed to do in DaVinci, and that's why there is the best place to do the corrections, because it is a RAW format as you're shooting log, and in Lightroom is more like then the makeup of the thumbnail to make it even better. So let's say in this case here, for example, I'm not going to dive too much in. I'll just add some contrast in here and add a little bit of sharpness, just to make the camera pop a tiny bit. I already reduced a little, or removed a little bit of the colors here, the blues and the greens, and I'll add a tiny bit of sharpening here on this photo, just to make the camera a tiny bit more popping for the thumbnail, but you cannot go too much because it's a JPEG photo. So I think that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll change the temperature a tiny bit, just a little bit more warm, and I will now bring that down a tiny bit, just like so. And that for me will be pretty good. This is the photo that I will be using on my thumbnail, and which is actually, this is the photo that I used on my thumbnail, which is here. I used both. I used this photo and an actual photo of the car that I shot. I will give you this quick disclaimer though. It's always better if you are able to shoot your thumbnails as a photo, like shooting the thumbnail specific for thumbnail for YouTube. It just gives you more quality. You can be more creative with it. It just gives you a lot more upsides than using this way. But this is a way for you, in case you are in a pinch, as I mentioned at the beginning, you can't actually go back to where you were, you don't have access to it, you just don't have any more time. This is a workaround that works, and you still have some very good high quality thumbnails without sacrificing a lot of time to go back to the location. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned how to do with it. It's actually quite simple, but let me know in the comments what you do when you don't shoot a thumbnail, in case you are, in a pinch. Please don't tell me use AI. Don't use AI, just make your own thumbnails. So if you had the same experience, let me know what you did and what worked for you. I'm curious to know. I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any videos. Now I go. Enjoy, guys. Have a good day, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.